everybody. Welcome to the Francast. This is so exciting. This is our third episode of the show. We're really happy to be here. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and my good friend Larry is here.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, and Colleen is here.
Hello again. Thanks again for having me.
Yes, and so we're really excited. Lots of fun stuff is happening in the world of Francast. Lots of insane stuff is happening in the world of the world. So hopefully we can provide some entertainment for you. And just like the Nanny always provides entertainment for all of us. So I hope that you're all safe and doing okay in this crazy time. And we've had some fun news that's come out in the world of the Nanny. We're going to talk about it. And then we have 3 episodes that we're going to give our little reviews on. So it's going to be fun. And first, I just wanted to let everyone know that we have a Francast Twitter now, which is exciting. And it's Francast14.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll be posting all of the episodes to there. And we'll try to, any other information that we get about the show or any of the actors or whatever, we'll try to retweet that and post it. And so, make sure that you're following us on there. I'll have the link for that in the description. So we're really moving up in the world. We're on Twitter. It's exciting. So, yes. And then also, maybe Larry, you can tell us what was the big announcement from Miss Fran Drescher this week.
Yes, so she came out to announce that the original cast are going to be doing a quarantine reading of the pilot episode. So I think that looks like a lot of fun. They all kind of were in the little promo that she tweeted out or sent out. So that's coming up on the 6th, I believe, April 6th. So that should be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it because not only is it have all these amazing people that I love, and the pilot is so strong, so it's gonna be fun to see it. But they even have Ann Campton Holloway that's gonna be there to do the title sequence live to sing it. So that's so exciting. Are you looking forward to this, Colleen?
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I was trying to pick out what people look like now. I was going through and trying to see what everyone looks like. So it'll be exciting to see this.
I think Gracie was the one that threw me for a second in that
promo.
I was like, who is, okay.
Yeah.
And the only person that won't be there is James Marsden, but maybe he had one line?
Yes, I didn't even talk.
Okay. That other episode, that was more his.
Yeah. And
Maggie can just do the old trick, like the wrap your arms around yourself type of make out.
There you go.
But Peter Mark Jacobson is there on there, so maybe he's doing that line or something. I don't know. Because he's just a producer. He wasn't didn't have any.
I must say, oh my gosh, Sheffield.
Yeah.
Charles Shaughnessy looks quite nice, quite handsome.
Yeah. He's like Silver Fox.
Oh yeah. Very nice looking.
Yeah. And it's funny to me that Benjamin Salisbury, he looks exactly the same, just an older version.
I was like,
yes.
He's the one you can pick out immediately other than like Fran, because he just looks exactly the same.
Yes, exactly.
It's funny how some people keep that baby face, kind of that young face, than other people. I mean, I actually kind of feel that way. I feel like I look exactly the same as I feel like I've always looked exactly the same. Like, I don't know I guess now it's getting to the point where it's actually a good thing, but people always thought I was older than I was. Always, my whole life. And I've had the same haircut my whole life. And I've basically had the same style my whole life. So it's not like other people, they can look through their pictures and be like, oh yeah, that was the 27 hair, or that was when I dyed my hair some weird. No, not me. I basically just have longer bangs and brown curly hair. That's it. That's me. And I've been about the same size and about the same since with maybe like a 50-pound kind of, depending on the time. back and forth since I was 17. So, and so I don't know. It's funny, but I guess like I said, that's probably becoming a good thing at this point. That I look. Well, I was like, when do I reach that that where I finally look my age, where people don't think I'm older than I actually am? I don't know. Maybe I have now.
Yeah, then you go over that hump, and people start thinking you're younger.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Go.
I don't know. We'll see. but anyway, so we're excited about that. I'm going to try to find all the information for logging on and whatever and put that in the description section. And we'll definitely, maybe we'll have to do we'll at least cover it on the podcast and some, depends on how fun it is, I guess.
Yeah,
if it's really great, then we'll cover it. If we could even do our separate, if it's kind of a dud, then we'll just talk about it briefly.
Right.
But anyway, we're excited. Anytime I get to see from this cast, and particularly from Fran, it's a win in my book. So
outside of her new series,
the quarantine, the quarantining taketh and giveth, I guess, in the world of Francast. But all right, so we are also going to be working on getting a separate feed for the Francast. I have to check a few things before I decide which server to use, and because we've had such a good response that I don't think we need to have it on Hallmarkies podcast anymore. And so anyway, we'll have more about that coming up, but that'll be all be on the Twitter. So make sure you're following the Francast 14 on Twitter. And so we're covering 3 episodes today, and it's episodes 5, 6, and 7 of the first season. And the first one is called Here Comes the Brood. And the summary is Cece is jealous of Fran's increasing presence in Sheffield's life. She asks to accompany Maxwell on the family trip to the zoo to spend more time with the children. On the day of the trip, however, Maxwell experiences a toothache and visits Fran's dentist uncle. Fran, who is on her day off, suggests that Cece take the kids by herself. After being irritated by the children during the trip, Cece remarks that Fran only spends time with them because she's paid to do so, which Gracie takes badly. She runs away to Fran, who takes her to her cousin's wedding, while alerting Maxwell and Cece of the situation. After finding out that it was Cece who told Gracie that what she did, both Fran and Maxwell berate her for what she said, and Fran explains to Gracie that although she is paid to take care of her, she really loves her. Fran then threatens Cece if she ever hurts the kids again, and as punishment forces her to watch her young cousin's tap dancing routine over and over. So there we go.
That's quite a description. That's longer than the last one.
Yes, because the IMDb ones are horrible. So, Larry, what was your overall thoughts about this movie? I mean, this episode.
Yeah, I thought this was actually a pretty fun episode overall. It was it was interesting getting one that kind of focuses with Miss Babcock a little bit, and her dynamic with the kids, and yeah, it's a funny episode overall for me.
Yeah. What about you, Colleen?
I cracked up at this one. I don't know. I was just I actually watched it earlier today. I'm in a good mood today. Maybe that was part of it. I was just laughing at everything, and I thought it was a good one. I thought it was well written. Cece trying to interact with children is just a riot because she just doesn't know how to do it. Yeah. She doesn't know how to be around really anybody but Maxwell and Niles, and to be, antagonistic to Fran. That's pretty much all you see. To see her dynamic with the kids a little bit more was good. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah,
it was pretty funny. It made me laugh today. That whole thing on Facebook that's going around, like 10 things that you don't like that it's not like it's new, but it's a thing right now. And that everyone out that you hate that everyone else loves. And it made me laugh because one of my friends, one of her 10 things was kids. It was like all kids. She said, pretty much. There are a few I like. We laughed, and I'm like, yeah, well, there you go. And it kind of goes Cece in this episode. And who can't relate? Because it's one thing to take your family, whether it's your nieces or, cousins or somebody like that, or even a really good friend, their kids to the zoo. Oh my gosh, taking like kids that you didn't really know that well and spend time with, nightmare.
And kids that don't particularly like you either.
Right.
So
Right. That's the big part of it.
Yeah, it'd be like chaos at the zoo. I think because I don't like the zoo anyway.
I was waiting for someone else to say it. I'm not a big. I like I've been to San Diego Zoo. Now that's a treat. But like growing up, I thought the zoo was just kind of lame. I love animals, but I don't love the zoo. It just doesn't excite me.
Like I think it's good for kids because they need to spend time like to learn about the animals and stuff like that. But like they had a zoo in Indianapolis. They actually have a really good zoo here in Utah as well. But they had one in Indianapolis when I was on my mission, and you could feed the giraffes.
Mhm.
And people
we have one like that here.
And people thought that was fun, and it probably was. But for me, it was like, ooh, I don't want to feed the giraffes. That's gross. I didn't like
Their
it.
big tongue.
Yeah. So I
fed an elephant too.
I'm not a huge animal person. I'm a space person. I don't like things invading my space, and that's what animals are great at.
I was like, wait, what is she talking about? Like Star Wars? Oh no, like physical space.
Yeah,
Okay.
physical
Yeah,
space.
like
I like having
what are you talking about over there?
But once I get to know an animal well, because I didn't grow up with animals at all. Both my sister and brother are super allergic, so I grew up being used to kind of their noises and their sounds and their space invasion. But once I get used to the animals, then I'm fine. But it takes me a little bit. So like giant animals, huge, like a giraffe is not for me. So I do like aquariums better than zoos because I'm more of a water person than I am
I do like aquariums.
Yeah,
There's a lot
I
of
like
cool
aquariums.
things in aquariums.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm sure you heard my cat. She said hello in the podcast earlier. I'm
Don't
trying
worry.
to keep her quiet, but she doesn't necessarily listen to me ever. We've been together almost 17 years.
Oh,
And,
wow.
Yeah, she's actually my first pet ever. I never had a pet before her.
Aw.
I had 3 cats, and 2 have passed away. This is my last one, and my first and last one.
Aw.
Like the first one that I got is still around.
Well, don't worry. I like your cat.
Okay.
I promise.
If she makes any other noise, I'm sorry. But
That's fine. But yeah, I think taking the Sheffields to the zoo would probably be horrible.
Oh,
Well,
That's
yeah, I mean,
painful.
you can't blame her too much. Brighton is like vomiting in her helmet and in her purse. I mean, yeah, I think anybody would go a little bit crazy having to deal with these kids at the zoo.
Yeah, exactly. But what did you think of this whole opening sequence where where they're basically like a married family? Like she schmaltzes him on the cheek.
well, that part grossed me out because I guess it's COVID brain right now. The Corona brain. I can't even imagine. I don't even like to touch my own spit right now, let alone like the thought of touching people is just revolting to me at the moment. So
Yeah.
And that whole
true.
thing is gross anyways. I would have never done that.
Because you
Never done
can't.
that to anybody.
Yeah, right now you're not supposed to touch your own face, let alone someone else's face.
Yeah.
And I know that's the time we live in, but even pre-coronavirus, I don't think I would have been doing that, even with a loved one, especially not your boss.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they may be laid on a little bit thick there at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm. But it was kind of cute too, though. Especially Maxwell. I thought he was kind of cute.
I think that was something I just noted in all 3 of these episodes as the collective. I was like, wow, they're really like they're really starting to amp up the like cuteness of Maxwell in these episodes to me. Like just the way he reacts or his mannerisms. I was like, oh, okay. So now he's really like getting to that cute, heartthrobby, make you fall in love with him type of character.
Yeah.
He softened a lot. Yeah.
I like Niles. He says that because Cece says it's the feminine nature in me or whatever. It's the maternal nature, and he's like, I hear some animals eat their young.
Yes, so that was one of my favorite lines of the episode. Yeah, I hear some females eat their young when she said that to him. It's great.
And the other one, it was right before that, I think, when Cece says, does Donna Reed ever give it a rest? My first thought was, do you guys know who Donna Reed is?
Isn't that on It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, Donna Reed. Well, she had a show. She was like a perfect mom, wore this skirt and the pearls and that kind of thing. Like perfect family, very happy, smiling all the time, doing everything for her husband, that kind of thing. That's what I think she was getting at.
If it's associated with a classic Christmas movie, I got it.
Yeah. I like Jude Cleaver,
Yeah.
That's who Donna Reed was like that, So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even liked her little friend when he was like, she's like, go back to your centerpiece. And he's like, oh, I'm done. And she was just like, look again.
Right. Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny.
And I forget who she said this to. Fran said it says, stop forcing food down her throat. She's not a goose. We aren't making pate.
Oh, her mother. She said that. Yeah. It was for Gracie. Sitting there feeding Grace.
That was funny. Oh yeah, that was towards the end. Yeah. And so yes, so Fran has her day off, and that is one thing. Whenever you work from home, like she lives there, so she works from home, and you don't really get days off. That's a myth.
The myth.
You don't get days off when you work from home because you're always working. That's the downside. Like there's lots of benefits in freedom, and that makes it great, but you can't turn it off like you do, especially if you're like caring for children, when you can be like, sorry, I can't help you, it's my day off.
Better find somebody else quick.
That's right. But in this case, she is a bridesmaid for a cousin of hers, and so she has something she has to do. And
that was another one of my lines, is saying she was a bridesmaid for her cousin once removed. She was removed for a reason.
Yeah. And I've been lucky. I haven't had to be a bridesmaid with the whole like expensive bridesmaid that many times. And the times that I've done it have been people I genuinely love, so it's been fine. But yeah, I know that because it's not as important. Like the whole processional isn't really part of my faith's tradition, but sometimes they'll do it just as a way to honor people. They'll say, "Oh, you're my bridesmaid," but it's not the same as like we don't have an aisle, we don't walk down, that kind of a thing isn't part of our ceremony, and so it's kind of optional. So I think that's why I haven't been it that many times. But I don't know. Whatever. If you, Colleen, had to do the whole bridesmaid thing a lot.
I have 5 siblings, so I was in 5 weddings, just their weddings, and then I was in friends' weddings, probably about 10 in my life. I mean, it's not horrible, but a lot of the weddings were in the 80s, so you can just imagine. Some of the fashion. I'm sure I have pictures somewhere I have not pulled out. This is my time, I think, while I'm quarantined. I need to go through my photos and put some up online.
Yeah, you should.
I remember some, but yeah, I grew up Catholic, and we almost all of the weddings were in the Catholic Church, and so bridesmaid dresses were a big part of it.
Yeah.
In most of the cases, well, the family weddings, my parents paid for them, but friends' weddings, most of them were reasonably priced, which was fine. But it can be a lot of work. It's just a lot of matchy. You have to buy the same dress. Not everyone looks good in it. You gotta buy shoes. You gotta have a
Yeah.
ride sometimes. Well, get your hair done. It's just a pain.
If you want to read a really funny article, it's an old Dave Barry article about
Okay.
about weddings. It's really funny about how he's like, you gotta. His wife was in a wedding party, and so he's just talking about how that you force everybody into the same dress despite all these different sizes. You have to have 5,000 bobby pins in your hair. It's funny. He does a good job with it. He's like, or your day is ruined if you don't have the right gossamer goodie bags or ridiculous stuff. But yeah, I mean, the fanciest wedding I've ever been in was my best friend from high school. This was way back in 2000. They're still together, so props to them.
Nice.
And and the dress was I think pretty tasteful. I was a little stressed out because personally, my beliefs, I don't wear anything without sleeves. Like that's just a part of, and it was pretty modest. Like it was a thick band, like a thick band. It didn't go into a whole sleeve, but it covered most of the shoulder, top of the shoulder. Anyway, but it was like the first time that I had ever worn anything like that in my life. And but by the time I got there, because I was in Utah, went all the way to Maryland, it was too late to change anything. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. It's the first time for everything. And it's still, aside from a swimsuit, it's still, I think, the only time in my whole life I've ever worn anything without a sleeve. So,
wow.
so I guess it maintains that source of honor. I'm like, I'm doing it for my friend. But the greatest thing about that wedding was that she had Indian food at the wedding, and I had never had Indian food before. Now I've had it many times, of course, but that was 2000, and it was so yummy. The best. We were all so excited because we were starving, and
that's the worst part about the wedding day.
I know.
Not eating.
Yeah, and if you do eat, it's usually like terrible steak or just some it's usually not very good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I will say I was in the last wedding I was in. It's been a long time. It was 2003-ish, maybe. That was the last time I was in a wedding. They were I knew both the couple, and they're really good friends of mine, and they were she is Croatian. So like any ethnicity, a Greek family, Italian family, food is a huge part of the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
So they got married in a Catholic church, and usually there's a few hours in most of the weddings I've been in between the ceremony and the reception. So
like a cocktail hour.
You just do whatever, Sometimes people, if they get their rent the bus, the shuttle, or the limo, and they drive around, whatever. Well, we went to my friend's mother's house and had to eat, and then go to the reception and eat some more, because that's just what they do. If you don't eat, it's disrespectful. It's like my big fat Greek wedding in a way. You have to eat. So that was like an interesting change for me to have all that food around.
Yeah. Sometimes people can be a little cheap on their weddings here in Utah, but but you can tell when you get the just the Costco cake. You're like, oh man. But
oh my gosh.
Larry, you work for an events place, so if you've seen some pretty terrible weddings.
No, so we mostly deal with corporate catering, so we don't delve too much into that, but yeah, that's why this is, I guess any events business right now, but yeah, the people aren't having meetings for sure, but no, so thankfully we get to skip out on just like horrific weddings. I have to say though, this
especially
that Fran wears in this one, woo!
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was like, oh my, that is like the nightmare bridesmaid.
Oh, it was. Oh, wait. My first thought was those my big Frank week wedding gown bridesmaid dresses. I thought were bad. Those
Yeah.
are like a 20 compared to this gown.
It's like,
So
oh
bad.
god.
Yes.
Oh,
We'll
it's
talk
so
about
bad.
that more. The also, I mean, Cece's outfit is so ridiculous. What is she like about to become a jungle skipper? Like,
That was there's a line from Niles when she comes in.
Sorry.
Who's out of Africa?
yeah.
It was just so ridiculous to go to the zoo.
Yeah.
That's why you got your helmet thrown up in, because it's ridiculous that you wore that little safari helmet.
There you go.
Yeah. So then Gracie does end up running away, and
Via limo.
Yeah, via limo at the wedding. Or I can't remember when I should have written it down. Sorry. She says about Gracie. Maybe she's allergic. Your Uncle Marvin was allergic to peacocks, and there's no shots for that.
I know.
She had some good lines, I thought.
Oh, yes, this was a great. I think that's why I laughed a lot too. So don't worry. Even that too. Speaking of Cece's outfit, when Fran sees her, she's like Banana Republic, and she's like, no. Did she say Abercrombie?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so you paid double.
Yeah, right. But I also loved Sylvia. She says, meanwhile, I have a girl who comes twice a week to clean. If she left me tomorrow, would I take a limo to Haiti?
I couldn't believe it because that's so not cool in 20. But at the time, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It is a little irreverent, but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
I love her just like telling Fran like, oh god, this just is not natural. Like, this is gonna get you fired. Just all of this.
I absolutely died laughing at how upset Sylvia was about the chicken at the wedding.
She grabs this and I pay $50. I should walk away with something.
Yeah. She's like, for this chicken, I get $50. That was so funny to me.
She had so many moments taking her shoes out of the freezer.
Yeah.
Talking
what
about
was that? I don't understand. What's this?
Because I guess she sweats too much in leather. So she
her shoes? What? I was confused by that.
At first I thought it was maybe to like expand or constrict it or something, but then they started talking about sweating, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did also like oh, go brush your father's hair, and it's like the hairpiece sitting
Yeah.
I know, I wrote that.
the hairpiece.
Like, that's normal. You're brushing your toupee on the kitchen counter.
They're arguing over which way to part it, and
Colleen, what did you think of Myron's grandson, Robbie?
Oh my gosh, I recognize that kid. I'm pretty sure he was on an episode of Full House, possibly.
Yeah,
Does that sound right?
I think it does. Yeah, I thought he looked familiar too. He was probably one of those kids that was. I felt like I saw him on the Cosby Show too.
Maybe I want to say he was with the twins, the Olsen twins, but I could be wrong on that. No, I don't know. Anyways, oh, he was a riot. I think did I write anything down? Oh, I wrote from Full House ? Because I was like, I had to ask you guys.
Gray clouds are gonna cheer up, put on a happy face.
Oh, that kid was funny.
Yeah,
I love the last line with
right. I think it was right before then. There was a funny line Gracie says, "But I don't want to go home. After they cut the cake, we're having schnapps." Like, she probably has no idea what schnapps are.
Right. Yeah. She she runs into the bathroom, Gracie, and And someone says, is she 3'2" and not a Jew?
Yes.
That's okay. Go there. And then there's a cute scene between Fran and Gracie where she says, I don't get paid to love you. So
That's a really nice
it was
moment.
cute. It was so cute. And and then she tells Cece, you're a lovely woman, and I wish you well. But if you ever hurt one of my kids again, you'll be wiping your blue blood off the walls. So,
oh, that was the other one I loved. Was Sylvia going on and on in the apartment, and Fran is just like, "Ma, I see your lips moving, but I have no idea what you're talking about."
yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah. This is when I knew I absolutely love Sylvia. Like this episode, because she is in the pilot, but only for a very short time, and she makes her presence known there. But this episode, I mean, she is just a riot, and has some of the best moments.
Yeah, agreed. And the fashion on this one starts out with a pink robe with like tools on it. It was kind of a weird robe.
Yeah, the first fashions. I mean, because outside of the robe, really all she's in is that hideous bridesmaid dress for the entire episode. Outside of the robe itself.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting because the next episode is the same, where we have the robe, and then she stays in a single outfit the entire episode. So I was like, wow, this is interesting to have back to back. They make up for it though in episode 7. I mean, she wore a million outfits in episode 7, but these two, it was a little bit light.
There's actually 2 robes in this episode.
Oh, is this the one with 2?
Yeah, there's 2 robes. So there's a pink robe with like, it has like a shovel and like tools on it and stuff.
It looked like it had, I thought it had like a coffee cup on it, but maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe it was a spoon and I thought it was
you thought it was a shovel?
I did see utensils, like cooking utensils maybe?
Maybe that was it. I don't know. It was an odd robe. And then there's a white robe with like blocks that say like A, B, C. So it was kind of weird. But yeah, then the rest of the episode, she's in the pink bridesmaid's dress with like yellow flowers and
the veil. Oh.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I found it interesting that climate change was such a big thing in this episode. Like Gracie kept like kind of bringing it up, or they would call back to. I was like, all the climate change in this episode.
There was a good line though with the pink dress. It's just I look like Pat Boone's mistress. That made me laugh. Also, you already mentioned the shoes in the freezer.
Oh my gosh!
But her dress, Sylvia's dress, was also hilarious. And and Fran says, "You look like a ham."
I know those straps. Can you imagine, Rachel? You were just saying you don't even wear. I can't wear anything with straps. It's obnoxious.
No way.
And what did she say? She like kind of curses the woman, like something about, well, may she choke on her commission or something like that she made off of me.
Right. So yeah, this one I think is pretty funny. I'd probably give it an 8, I think.
Yeah, I think 8 is good.
Yeah.
8 is very good. Yeah.
All right. So next we got the butler, the husband, the wife, and her mother. And and so basically this is Sylvia tells her brother-in-law and his daughter that Fran married Maxwell, and invites them over to the Sheffield house while the family is at the museum celebrating Brian's class presidency victory. Fran joins in on the ruse and brings Niles into it. This situation becomes complicated when the representatives from the Butler Association come by to check Niles for evaluation and compound even further when Maxwell and the kids return from the museum. Return from the museum. Maxwell at Fran and Niles' behest plays along as Niles, but fails to maintain character when he learns that Brighton lost the race for class president. Fran comes clean to Jack and Marcia, who initially mock her, only to be defended by the children and even Sylvia. When Cece arrives, she inadvertently exposes the truth about Niles. But when Fran points out the family was willing to go to the great lengths to cover for him, the association decides to induct him. So this one is pretty, I think it's pretty classic sitcom kind of formula when something like this kind of happens. I feel like
Yes.
a lot of shows have this sort of episode. And I don't know, what was your overall thoughts of it, Larry?
I thought it was okay. It's not one of my favorites. It's a little bit, it was just a lot going on. Again, Fran with just pretty much the one fashion, the black turtleneck with this like kind of weird cow spotted cardigan over the top of it. I don't know. It was just like a meh outfit, and she wore it the whole episode long. So I was like, oh, this is weird. Yeah, like this is one that I didn't have all that many lines written down or like memorable moments particularly.
Yeah. It almost has the feel of something from, I don't know, almost like a early silent movie kind of, like this kind of a story, this sort of, or maybe more like a screwball comedy kind of a feel to it.
Yeah.
It's you have to suspend your disbelief quite a bit. That they wouldn't just have a conversation and just say, oh, sorry, so-and-so's gone or whatever. But I don't know. What do you think, Colleen?
I agree. It wasn't my favorite. Of the three, it was my least favorite. But when you said screwball comedy, it made me think of something that would have happened on Three's Company.
Yeah.
But without the physical comedy of Three's Company, which was the kind of the hallmark of that show. John Ritter was fabulous at that. It just doesn't work on this particular episode as well. It just kind of, it goes too far. And like you said, the one outfit, it's like one continuous scene almost.
Yeah.
Like the scene, there's no breaks in it, and it gets to just be too much.
Yeah. I mean, and also it's kind of mean. It makes, like, they can push Sylvia pretty far, but for her to kind of be embarrassed about her daughter, I think maybe it feels a little bit off-putting to this extent, to lie about her daughter, and and so I think maybe that's part of it as well.
I agree.
Yeah. But you find out about the Professional Butler Association, that they're coming to inspect Niles.
What I liked is at the end, it just kind of showed you how dubious all of these professional things are, because they were just like, oh, well, we do need the dues. Okay, you're in. Like,
there you know.
Yeah,
it's all about
yes, it has to do with the family defending him, but also it's like, well, we need the money, so you're in, you're accepted. So I thought that was kind of a fun little poke and jab, basically, at a lot of these associations that you get accepted into, that a lot of it has to do with money and or connections. But
sure, well, especially like a butler. I mean, come on.
Of course, yes.
But we find out that Niles, I guess Niles' father was quite the scandal.
Yes.
Yeah, with what was her name? There was it was a duchess. There was a duchess. And Fran says, to each his own, unless the duchess was a sheepdog.
Yes.
That was pretty funny. That was pretty good. And we do also, there's a line where Niles says, when there's all the mix-up, he says that it's just Niles, like Cher. He doesn't have a last name, evidently. I don't know. That was interesting. And yeah, so basically, I mean, there was so much, this one was pretty plot heavy as opposed to line heavy. So I don't have as many like really good lines. But I thought it was funny to see like sort of the reaction of the actors trying to play each other and like them kind of absorbing what was happening. That was, I thought, pretty funny.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, and I think my favorite lines had to do basically with Fran ribbing her like cousin or whatever, where she looks at the picture and she's like, she's got your nose, the old one. Or when Maggie defends Fran and yells at her and about her, calls her some big old green bully or something, and Fran is just like, Maggie, it's turquoise.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, there's a funny line when Brighton is talking and about his dad, or no, it was Maxwell. they were talking about doing stuff for their campaigns to become class president, and he says he's my Hillary.
Oh yes.
I heard that.
His dad.
Yeah.
That was funny. Sylvia, who says it's good to have choice, but not that I had a choice when I was in labor for 10 hours.
Yes.
With that big head.
That big, yes.
When Niall said, when she gets him to pretend he's her husband, and he was like, I don't know at what point it happened, but he was like, I was drunk at the wedding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, he had no memory of any of this happening. That was funny.
I liked the fact that there was a butler day at the museum. That made me laugh. And and then they're brought home from their trip to the museum because there's a bomb threat, I guess. And and we find out that basically, I guess Brighton lied about winning the election, and so he just felt bad because of all the stories that Mr. Sheffield's always telling about being president at Eton or whatever, some fancy school. And
yeah, I guess it's definitely
yeah.
one of those like suspending disbelief, because you're like, okay, this kid of course has to come over here to invite Brighton to the party, like, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, whoa, where did this kid come from?
Like, this is the kind of story that you'd almost see in like a Marx Brothers kind of a comedy, you know, with like people coming in through different doors and who's being who and different names.
Yeah.
And you'd have everybody named Max or something like that. And but yeah, like you said, with the fashion, it's just black pants with a tan and black spotted cardigan and a sweater. I'm wearing a cardigan sweater.
Yeah.
Right.
So, which seemed
It
I was
reminded me of like almost, it wasn't quite a cow print, but it kind of just looked
yeah.
It
to
did.
me. I was like,
That's
ooh.
what I wrote down, actually, cow.
Yeah, me too. Because I was like, it's not a cow print, but it just is very reminiscent of a
Yeah,
cow.
it does. I think she does better with color. She would do better with color. So yeah, it has some funny parts.
Right.
Probably not the best. I'd probably give it a 5.
Yeah, that's where I was
5.
headed.
Right. Yeah. That's a good score, I would say. I agree.
Okay. All right. Last one we have is called Imaginary Friend. I think this one is actually pretty iconic. This one's a pretty popular one. And Grace's imaginary friend Imogen begins to annoy the family, but Fran insists that they support her. However, things take a turn for the worse when Grace and Fran are baking cookies, only for Grace to accuse the nanny of eating and killing Imogen. The family holds a mock funeral as a way for her to deal with the death. After a session at the psychiatrist, Maxwell and Fran learned that Imogen came around the time of Sarah's death. Grace admits that she got tired of Imogen because she has a new friend to take care of her. So, I don't know. What do you think, Larry, of this one?
Yeah, I really thought this was a fun episode. Of course, it has a really sweet message at the center of it all, but just, you know, the fact that she named her imaginary friend Imogen right from the get-go is just like fun and ridiculous. But it's just such a fun concept throughout, that this is also really kind of over-the-top comedy, but it works really well. Like, this is where I think Fran is best in this type of scenario of physical and comedy in general.
Yeah, it really involves everybody too.
Yes.
And has kind of funny dynamics for everyone, because there's some funny stuff from Maxwell too in this episode, especially the CPR scene. We'll talk about it, but I don't know. Colleen, what did you think?
This was good. And it had like an underlying serious tone to it.
Yeah.
Which was good. It had it, like you said, it had a message to tell. And it's something you don't think about when a lot of people, young kids lose their a parent. That's extremely difficult, and how to respond to it varies so much from person to person. But it was funny. It had a lot of funny stuff in it.
So then it starts out, you have Maggie learning to play the piano. Which is the only thing worse than people learning to play the piano and playing Heart and Soul over and over and over again is people learning to play the violin.
Oof.
Learning to play. My sister plays the violin, by the way.
Oh,
And learning to play the violin is rough.
yes, it
There
is.
should be padded rooms in houses where someone's learning to play violin because it's so bad. It takes so long to be like listenable with the violin. And
I love when Maggie is like, my teacher says I have nimble fingers. And Alice is like, sign language is a great hobby.
yeah, I missed that one.
I
That's
wrote
true.
that down.
Yeah, that was like the first zinger of the episode. This one, Niles was he aimed all of his zingers mostly at Maggie and that piano. That was his focus.
I did love Niall says to Heart. He says when he hears Heart and Soul, he says, "Isn't there enough pain in this house?"
Yes, as if there isn't enough pain in this house.
Because it's the worst. Like I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess Heart and Soul is just easy, but people play it, and then they. I think anybody who's had like 10 minutes of piano lessons learns how to play Heart and Soul, and then you hear it's like all you hear.
Yeah. Whenever anybody sits down at a piano, they just like strike up Heart and Soul.
Yeah. But she says, "You don't know what torture is. My sister played the Zuka." And this is there's one episode of the show where we meet her sister. And she's very rarely mentioned. So it's kind of strange. I think it's in like the 3rd season. We, for some reason, meet her sister. But she says also you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar, but I'm not sure why you want to catch a bunch of flies.
Oh yeah, because she walks in on like Cece calling that guy like an intelligent hack over his design.
Yeah. And so Grace, she's doing like group therapy with her dolls, and then Fran says about Barbie, I think it is. She says, "Never trust a woman who can't wear flats."
I have the whole thing written down because it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Ken and Barbie are on the skids. I heard it directly from Chatty Cathy. Ken found out that Barbie had a fling with G.I. Joe right before Desert Storm. Poor Barbie. One little indiscretion in 30 years and it cost her the dream house. I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also a really classic line that Fran says to Cece when they shot Bambi's mother. Did you find that a sad moment at all?
At all. Yes.
That's a really good one. And so, yeah, and I did think kind of a lame line is when she says if she needs an outlet, I'll take her to Jersey. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's like, come on, Fran's not that stupid. Like, she knows what she knows what an outlet is.
Yeah.
And
isn't this the one? Oh yeah, because Cece like walks up and is like, "Nanny, fine. They don't actually shrink their heads," and she's like, "What am I, like an ignoramus?"
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the same episode, we have her mistaking an outlet for shopping outlets, and then we also have her like defending her intelligence about shrinking heads.
Right. And she tells him she shows Maxwell that she needs a little less Freud and a little more fun. And also she says that the Sheffield family tree is crawling with Michigana.
Yes.
So she gets Maxwell to take Gracie off of therapy as much. And what did you think of that weird couple in therapy?
Well, I just loved her interaction, like the first time when she goes to pick Gracie up, and the person's like asking if she was like, "I'm okay, you're okay." And then when Gracie walks out talking to Imogen, and is like, "Oh, I thought we'd go here for lunch," and she turns and is like, "And that's after $150 session." I thought that was a great line. Oh my gosh, that couple was so weird
Yeah.
when they come back later.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Sure weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that people wouldn't make that joke anymore. I don't know. I just think, I just feel like,
About escaping marriage.
yeah, and about like them being kind of controlling of each other. And I feel like people are very sensitive about stuff like that now.
I think this whole episode might get a little bit sensitive. Like, it turns back around to the value of therapy, but I mean, there's a lot of the middle portion of them just being like, oh my gosh, like, real sketchy about it. So
Yeah.
I don't know how it would go down in general in this day and age.
Yeah,
Right,
it'd be
I
interesting
agree.
to know. So then we get to the point where they're making cookies, and Fran and Gracie screams, "As you've eaten Imogen," and she's like, "Poo, poo, poo," and to spit it out. And I did not eat her. And then the CPR scene is I think the highlight of the episode. It's so funny, and you see them get the pan lids as like, what are those called? Those electroshock.
Defibrillator thing?
Yeah,
is that what they call
defibrillator.
defibrillator?
Yeah, that is hilarious, and their whole narration of it while they're doing it is so funny. I also love when they go in to talk to Gracie, and they both sit on that tiny, tiny little bench. That's so funny. And then they try to stand up, and they're still on the bench. Just like a little thing, but it made me laugh. And so they decide that they're going to have a funeral for the imaginary friend. And I do love that Gracie wants to bury the hair in Fran's expensive shoes. She's still paying off of. That's
This is like, she always said she wanted to be buried in her boots. And
Yeah.
Niles, Lord and Taylor giveth, Lord and Taylor taketh away.
Yes.
Right. And then they go back to the therapist, and then the disturbed couple, they're like, "Get out now."
It was just like almost random. I don't know. It was just it was kind of like that little couple on the double or the like supervised date, but more intrusive, like more like in your face, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Get out now.
But I also loved when they're discussing like why Maxwell has to give the eulogy. And Fran's like, now wouldn't that be in poor taste? I'm the one that ate her. Like, about her giving the eulogy.
Yeah, that's true. And Maxwell's like, faithful companion, friend. What's up to say about Imogen? Yeah, that was cute.
Peanut butter.
I mean, this is definitely also the funeral for the pet is a classic sitcom plot.
Yeah.
Definitely saw it in the Cosby Show. I think it was one of the very first episodes they ever did of the Cosby Show. Is they have to have a funeral for Ruthie's goldfish, and that they all do. They all get dressed up, and anyway, and all right, yeah, you were absolutely right about the fashion that we scored on this episode.
So many. I was like, whoa. They were saving up those last couple episodes. They didn't want to burn through these outfits, I guess.
Well, at the beginning, I was a little disappointed because her hair was it looked like it had gotten over conditioned or something. It was a little flat for my Fran hair.
Right?
I was like, what? And she's in a red and green sweater. And
which was not cool.
Which we only see for like the very opening, like the opening stinger, and then we don't see it again.
Yes.
And then we get that blue turtleneck back that she's worn a couple times. There's a blue turtleneck and then a cream suit coat, and with a black collar and a blue skirt.
That was just too much color for me. I mean, I get the color. I just didn't. It was very 90s. It just didn't really go. It didn't go together, in my opinion.
Yeah, Fran knew how to put on a suit coat. That's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was like, that was one of my one of my more favorite of the bunch, I'd say. It's the
Uh-oh.
blue and the
Yeah.
cream.
Well, then next we have black pants, black vest with it had some kind of graphic on it, and then there was
I think it was macrame. It looked like it was macrame from far away.
Yeah, and then there was a very, very puffy shirt underneath, and she had big hair. She was back.
Yeah,
Yes.
there
Back
it was.
in big hair.
That pirate shirt returned. The pirate fashion came back.
That was
And
awesome.
yeah, and then we also have that black suit with the cutouts briefly we see.
Came back.
I like that.
Yeah, so that was like for the funeral. She also
Yeah.
had this weird, like the black turtleneck, and it was almost a jumpsuit. It was only in this episode again for a very brief time because there were like straps on the top that looked like overall straps almost, and then she had a lot of gold like jewelry embellishments on it. I don't know. It was a very quick outfit, and I don't even think we saw her stand up all the way in it.
Oh yeah.
But it was just like a whoa, oh, is this like a jumpsuit or what is this?
But the weirdest outfit though was at the
final.
She's got a black skirt, red turtleneck, always turtleneck, and a plaid jacket with tomato and eggplant on it, and a
carrot on her arm.
Yeah. And this is the one she's like touting about how good she looks and fashionable. I was like, what a crazy jacket!
Yeah.
What is this jacket?
It was really weird. I mean, I'm trying to think of who could wear a vegetable jacket. I don't know, like a farmer. It was weird.
I'm trying to think, was there ever a time in fashion in the last, say, 30 years where that was something that really was important? Like, was there ever a fad with fruit or vegetables on your clothes? I don't remember.
Oh,
yeah, it was a choice for sure.
It was a choice. Yeah, I don't recall, because I was not super keyed up into the fashion world as a teenager in the 90s, but I don't recall the vegetable phase.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But maybe I was just out of it. I don't know. But yeah, that one was really weird. And then finally you see her in a pink robe at the end with it's sort of a quilted type of look to it, the robe. So
I think that was such a funny callback. I loved that was like it wasn't the last thing because we didn't get Maggie at the piano again, but but her out there like digging up her shoe.
Yeah, that's right.
That was funny.
Yeah, and Niles helping her.
Yeah. Well, maybe if we dig it deep enough, I can throw the piano in.
And because she hasn't finished painting them off.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was this episode. I probably would give this one also an 8. I think it's pretty funny. I think especially that CPR scene is so good, and I really just love Charles Shaughnessy in that scene. I think he really goes for it. It's really funny.
I think an 8 is a good one. I love Gracie's shriek and Fran's reaction to her shriek. Just the whole thing with the imaginary friend. Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I would go just for that scene alone, which was really good. Probably in the top 10 maybe of Nanny scenes. I'd give it an 8.5.
I can see that. Yeah, it's really, really quite funny. So very good. Well, we did it. We got through these episodes. So let us know what you think and what score you would give them. What you think if you've ever owned a vegetable adorned jacket. Please let us know, and also share with us.
Yeah,
share with us.
Go to Twitter, please, and share your vegetable fashions with us. Yes. We would love to see them.
Yes, and also if you have a horrific bridesmaid dress, share. We want to see it. We want to see your picture.
Guys, I'm gonna find mine and
yes.
I'll look for them.
Please do. That would be really fun. And make sure you're following the new Twitter at Francast14, and we'd love to see y'all there. And let us know what you think of the podcast. We would love your thoughts. And like I said, we're going to get it as a separate feed coming up soon. But right now it's on the Hallmarkies podcast feed. So You can share your thoughts there as well. And thanks so much, you guys, for being on this here. And
Yeah.
Larry, where can people find you?
So you can find me over on YouTube as well as Instagram and Twitter, all at LC Screen Talk. Also, though, before I forget, I actually am starting a new little film review blog just to get more into writing out reviews and pieces and such, and that is just lcscreentalk.wordpress.com. So
Oh,
there's
great.
that too.
So we'll have that in the description also. And Colleen, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram and Twitter at Lele44094. LELE 44094.
Great. Well, very good. You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And at Backseat Directors, it's a new little group I've been writing for, a new site. So check that out. And then also the Hallmarkies podcast. You can definitely find us there. And we've got lots of good stuff coming up, some fun interviews, some other fun content I think you guys will really enjoy. So make sure to check out Hallmarkies podcast. And we also have our merch store, which has Francast merch. So exciting. So you got to check
I don't think we talked about the merch store. Speaking of fashions, also, obviously, if you get anything from the merch store, if you get a shirt or a sticker or whatever, make sure to share your pictures, fluff up that hair, tease it out, and send us a picture on Twitter.
Yes, if you send us any pictures on Twitter, we will follow you, we will retweet it, we'll whatever. It'll be really fun. And yes, we have the merch store, which not only gives you really cool stuff, but it helps out the podcast, and so we really appreciate it. And then we also have our patron group, which is so important to us right now, and you can join for only $2 a month. And it really helps us so much. So please check that out. We do giveaways and exclusives and all kinds of fun stuff. That'll all be in the description section. So please take a look. And thanks a lot, you guys. We will see you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.